Welcome to Talk Points again on Lagos Television. My name is Omololu Rosanwo. Today on Talk Points, we'll be looking at governance. We know that governance has to do with when things are put in place. Of course, in any nation, there will be leaders and there will also be followers. And it is expected that the leaders will always lead the followers right. And also that the followers will also do things that will ensure that the leaders also continue to give them good governance. That's what we'll be looking at today. And I have a guest in the studio that will be doing justice to that with me. I have Mr. Bolawole. He's a columnist and also an entrepreneur and also a public affairs analyst. Nice to have you, sir.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Yes, let's talk governance because all over the world we have various types of governance, and we have the types of system that we run. There is the parliamentary system in Britain. There is the legislative system. We have bicameral legislation, which we practice in Nigeria. That's the federal system of governance. And also there's communists in some climes, looking at China and other areas. There are socialists in other areas. But when we talk of governance in a system, what are we looking at?
Thank you very much. I am a disciple of Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope said, as to forms of government, let fools contest. What is best administered is best. Whatever system that is best administered is the best. Whether it is parliamentary, whether it is presidential, whether it is monarchy, whether it is even dictatorship, whether it is presidential system, whether it is parliamentary, whether you have a written constitution, because people are making a lot of fuss about constitution or written constitution, whatever, whether it is military, whether it is civilian, whatever government, whether it is traditional government, whatever government, whether it is theocracy, whether it is autocracy, whatever government that is, whatever is best administered, wherever you have the best practices in place, that is the best government that can deliver what we call good governance. What is good governance? Good governance is meeting the needs, the aspirations, the yearnings of the people, meeting their basic needs, food, clothing, shelter. The utilitarian says that good government is when you serve the best interest of the best majority, the majority. You can't please everybody. That's why even in democracy we say that the majority will have their way, even as they will allow the minority to have their say. In other words, what we are saying is that you can't please everybody, but you should be able to satisfy the needs of majority of the people. In any society, you are going to have the rich, you are going to have the poor. Even the scripture, the Bible tells us that the poor you will always have in your midst. But there is also a difference between the poor and the desperately poor. There's a difference between the people who cannot meet their basic needs and the people who are thinking of meeting their wants. There's a difference between I want this and I need this. In any good governance, in any society where there is good government, people should be able to meet their basic needs. Your basic needs, you need food to keep body and soul together. That's why people say that once food is out of poverty, the poverty is drastically reduced. But in a situation where people cannot feed, just like we have in Nigeria today, people are crying all over the place, we are hungry, being power. When that basic need of feeding cannot be met, then you cannot claim to have good governance. When other basic needs of transportation, I want to move from this location to another location, I don't have transport money. When that basic needs cannot be met, then you do not have good governance. When people cannot go to school, children want to go to school, they have the intellect, they have the ability, but because of school fees, their parents are poor, their parents cannot afford school fees. So a student that ought to have been a first-class student cannot even go to school. Then you have problems. And when you are talking about good governance, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that it is only last year that we began to have less of good governance. That's not true. We've always had the problems of lack of good governance from time immemorial. I will give you an instance. When I was in the primary school, that was 1961 to 67, 62 to 67, when I was in the primary school. One guy that was one of the best students in our class, I still remember his name, Yusuf Adagbeje. That was his name. He was the best in mathematics. We left primary school, and we didn't hear about him again. But one day, many years after, I was returning from school. I had finished.
You had finished your secondary school or
I had finished university at
Okay.
Ife. I had finished and I was coming home. I just went for service, for mobilization, and I was coming. I was dressed in my NYC regalia. I got home, or I go to the post office where vehicles will stop everybody together. And then the taxi that I hailed, I entered. Lo and behold, it was Yusuf that was driving the taxi.
The guy that was so good in mathematics.
In my class. When we finished from primary school in 1967, the best guy was now a transit driver in my hometown.
What could have happened?
I said, Yusuf. He looked at me, he shouted my name. I said, Yusuf, what is happening? Why are you driving? He said, I didn't have money to pursue my education. My parents had no money, nothing like that. And he was a taxi driver. He said he had gotten married and he had 3 children. And I was a youth couple. I wasn't the best in that class. But because my parents could afford to put me in school, I was already a graduate. The best boy in our class, because his parents couldn't afford to put him in school, was a taxi driver. You can imagine the talent that not only the country, that humanity had lost. And there are so many cases like that. So this problem of good governance didn't begin today. That's what I just trying to make you understand. We've always had the problem of good governance. We've always had the problem of government not being able to provide for the basic needs of the people. We have always had the problem of some people not being able to fulfill their potentials because government had not provided what it's supposed to have provided. But you are having a situation now where the situation is becoming compounded. So compounded to the level that now the problem is even feeding. In those days, there was no problem with feeding.
Because everything was cheap.
Everything was abundance. In abundance, we were all going to the farm. Even me at that time, even after my NYC, I was still going to the farm.
Let me just interject a little. Because what you mentioned now is making me to ask this question. Now, at that period, the government provided some kind of scholarship, loan, scholarship to people. I remember that some of our parents benefited and they traveled abroad and they came back. Now, are you saying that that system is not still available? Looking at what we have now, something has been created now, the education fund that's been created for people to tap into.
You see, the problem is, one, population explosion. How many were the people going to universities in those days? How many were the people going to secondary schools in those days? How many were the people applying for scholarships in those days? How many were the people receiving bursary awards in those days? Now the population has ballooned. At independence, our population was 45 or something million at independence. But now our population is 220
and still counting.
million. And still counting. So now the population has outstripped resources. That is one thing you must understand. As the population has been growing, Malthus theory, as the population has been growing geometrical dimension, our resources are growing in arithmetical progression. So resources can no longer meet demands. The demands now have ballooned because of population. That is one. Number two is that the resources that we even have now, instead of us applying them in a justifiable manner, we are not applying our resources the way they should be applied. Corruption is taking much percentage, a lot of the percentage, a high percentage of the resources that we have. And we are not multiplying our resources at the same rate as we are multiplying our population. It's easy for a single person, like we saw the other time when a senator brought his 4 wives and 27 children to the chambers of the National Assembly and said, these are my wives. And these are, I have 27, and I'm still young. I'm still going to have more. A single person, 4 wives, 27 children. And there are so many of them like that.
Are those ones, are they not the ones also indirectly adding to the problems of population? Let me put it that way, in Nigeria.
That is a population explosion. In the sense, there was a government that tried to do something about it. Say, one wife, 4 children. But did we even implement it? Was it implementable? So some people now say, okay, what they need to do is marry many wives. When you marry a wife, after he has given you 4 children, you divorce her, you marry another one that will give you 4 children.
That's a clever way out of it.
A clever way out.
You see, it's affecting the system.
Yes, meaning that people do not understand. People are not conscious of the fact, whether because of religious bias, whether because of ignorance, illiteracy, whether because they feel that other people are doing it, let me do it. Let us all jointly create the problem so that we can all jointly solve the problem or all jointly suffer from the problem. So you have population is exploding. Many of the people who are giving back to these children are the people who cannot take care of them. You see, like a different thing. If you are giving back the children, you can take care of them. Like the senator that came and said with 27 children, he can take care of them with our resources. That's why many of them, they have all these, they are bloated allowances here and there, because so if you have 27 children, is it your salary that's going to take care of the 27 children? Is it your salary that's going to take care of 4 wives? And there may be other concubines elsewhere. So the problem really is that many of the people who are having these children cannot take care of them. The poor people breed faster than even the rich people. The rich people around you, I have a neighbor, a medical doctor, they have only 1 child. I have a friend, the former vice chancellor, he has only 2. We have a lot of people like that. Even somebody like me that I have for my friends say, why do you want to do with 4 children? But the poor people, they can. I have an allergy, somebody who deals in foreign exchange, forex there. He already has 2 wives. He already has 7 children and 30-something. Yes.
I need to ask you, it's bothering possibly myself and other Nigerians that they may be thinking in the same thoughts that I have. Why is it that those that are less privileged or the low in the society are the ones producing more children? Why? Because if you look at that trend, you'll find out that those that are receiving lesser salaries or artisans and stuff like that, they're the ones having more children. And they will still add to the population. And somebody that is a graduate will just have maybe 2, 3, or 4. But they're going out there to have 4, 5, 6, and they're still not stopping. Why is it always skewed in that direction?
Number 1, they don't have understanding. Number 2, I mean understanding to know that they are creating a problem. Not only for themselves, but for society. Many of them don't have that understanding. When you start talking to them, you realize that they don't have the understanding. That many of them will tell you it is God that takes care of children. You see, this fatalism, it's God that takes care of children. Some of them also will tell you that, we are having many children because we don't know which of them will become famous, will become okay. So if you have 20, at least one of them or 2 of them. You see, in those days when we were growing up, our fathers will have 2 wives or 2 or 3 wives or 4 wives. They will only train 1 child from each mother. So the one that is trained from this mother will be the one that will train the other people, the other children, coming after him or her. So if you have a mother that is not very lucky to have a child that is very bright, that they can send to school, can come out quickly and begin to train the others, that family will go down. But then the mother that has a child that is up and doing, we train the other siblings. We have a case like that. We have cases like that where he's the first child now that went to school. Those days it was easy. You leave secondary school or teacher training, you get a job. Then you begin to train the others. You find out that the others you train will now go to university. You that train them, you will not be able to go because you are busy training them.
Yes.
So it is that mentality.
So some of our grandfathers and great grandfathers were into farming, some into trading, and at that period they had 2-3 wives. They would say that it's because they want them to help them on the farm. Yes. That culture is no longer there because those that have children now, they're not taking them to the farm, are they?
Nobody goes to the farm again. That's what I'm saying. My father had a farm, even though he was a merchant, he was a trader. But they also had a farm. He had people working in the farm. You plant your cocoa, and then underneath the cocoa, you plant yam, white yam, yellow yam, you plant maize, you plant everything like that. You plant fruits and things like that. So you can always go to the farm. My mother was a petty trader. She was every market day she would cook rice, beans, and things like that. People would buy, and then she was selling provisions. She had farms. So during holidays, I'll follow her to the farms. We'll go to the farms and things like that. But nowadays, my children have never stepped their feet into any farm. Now, I don't know. I'm not sure my children know how yam. Whether it is.
Some even claim. I heard somebody was saying yam grows on the tree. I was surprised.
They'll tell you, is it not like mango? They see mango. Yes, like mango. You plug it like you.
Are we not adding to this problem? Because if your children, from what you have said now, do not know about farming and they are not ready to go into mechanized farming,
and I'm not there,
and you're not there.
Yes,
so are we not adding to this problem of food scarcity?
That is the problem.
Shortage?
We all stay in the city. This rural urban migration had a lot of problems, dimensions of rural urban migration. We are all in the city. We are all putting on coats. Like a fella said, animal they put on suit. We are now putting on suit. We are now putting on everything now. We say, and we are expecting food. Where is it going to come from? Who is going to do the farming? Our parents that used to do the farming, they are dead. They are gone. Even Coco, go to the rural areas now. Go to the southwest now. You see the cocoa trees are dying. They are not replacing them. Nobody is doing anything about them. And the government that should introduce mechanized farming, they are busy going to Abuja, collecting allocations and spending it. Once they get the allocation from Abuja, they have enough for their security vote. They have enough to take care of their needs. They are okay. So whatever remains is what they just spread across and things like that. Nobody is doing anything to increase IGR. Nobody is doing anything to make people go back to the farm. You see, and we are not showing good example. Good governance starts with the leaders showing good example. You must lead from the front. But our leaders are not doing that. I remember I told the governor, I was consulting for him at that time, I said, Excellency, all these expand space that we have in the government house, wasting away where we are parking cars, we just say like, they should go and mow the lawn and you want it to be green. I said, sir, let's till it and begin to plant yam, plant all the food we are eating in this government house. We can plant the food here in this government house. We can plant them. He said, sir, when you become governor, go and plant cassava.
That was what he told you then.
Yeah, he said, but me, this is what I want to do. You see, I have another governor too that wanted to build a flyover in a place where there was no go-slow, no traffic.
That one is meant as siphoning money.
I said, Excellency, I said, why don't we go and put this money in rice? The state of that governor is noted for one rice like that, our local rice. He says, when you become governor, go and plant rice. This is what I want to do. You see, somebody came and told me, say, Bola, you don't understand. Just like so you were saying now, that it's some of these projects that, but in his own case, he didn't say that he wanted to siphon money. He said he wanted to make history. That in 50, 30, 100 years, he said when he's dead, he said when they asked students in school who built the first
bridge
flyover, they will mention his name.
Well, that to me is a wrong thinking.
But that is the mentality of many of
at that period. If you don't need that flyover there, you don't have to build it. But because you just want to make history and you also want to make money, you are creating that problem.
Yes,
that's not true. That shouldn't be the case. Now, as we round up, Abraham Maslow talked about hierarchy of human needs. He talked about food, shelter, clothing. What are our expectations from the government, for these things to come to fruition?
Government should lead from the front. I was happy when the Southwest governors held a meeting and they said they gave the development agenda for Western Nigeria, the marching orders, to go and take the Western Nigeria back to the farm. That they should go and bring a blueprint that will make our area self-sufficient in food. In the days of Awolowo, this area was self-sufficient in food. I have traveled, I have seen some of the agricultural programs of that era. I have been to Fashola in Okeogun area. Okeogun area alone can provide the whole food that the whole of Nigeria can sustain on, but we abandoned it. Everywhere you go, you find a lot of all these farm settlements that Awolowo era built. You have all these cattle ranches. All this problem of harder farmer will not have arisen. There were ranches in those days, but we abandoned everything. Everybody came to the city. The farm settlements, we abandoned them. If we continue with what Awolowo people did, we will not have youth restiveness that we are having now. Hence, and bad government will not have it. All these Oraisa boys, all these area boys, area girls, they will be gainfully employed. But we abandoned the good projects of our forefathers. Let us return to those good projects. Let our governors in the Southwest dust up the blueprint that the Awolowo era had for this Southwest and let them go back to it so that the development that we witnessed in the First Republic, we can begin to witness it again. That is the solution.
Yes, I want to tell you that that can only be possible if everybody, both the government and the government, also put the thinking cap on and ensure that they go into agriculture. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Bolawole, for being part of Talk Point.
It's a pleasure.
On that note, we have come to the end of Talk Point. 767 and 112 are still the lines to always call in times of emergency. Stay out of trouble. Ensure that you contribute your quota to the development of Nigeria and also Lagos State so that we can all be part of history. I am Omololu Sonwo, signing out.
Thank you.